Hello and welcome to Comedians versus the News. I'm Eman El-Husseini.
And I'm Eman's co-host in life and in podcasting, Jess Salomon.
Wow.
I can't believe I just said that.
To have and to record until death do us part.
Again, very much regret calling you my life host.
From the BBC World Service, this is the show that takes you on a weekly sojourn around the world's headlines with the help of hilarious international comedians.
Together we live, laugh, and love.
That is what a sojourn is all about.
I've literally never heard you use that word before, Eman.
So, join us for the next half hour of jokes, hot takes, and help us welcome...
From India, we have Neeti Palta telling us why an Indian comedian went to prison for a joke he didn't tell.
And from Belgium, it's Michael Van Peel. He'll tell us how the government is easing COVID restrictions to make haircuts possible again.
Welcome to Comedians versus the News.
How are you, Neeti?
What's happening where you are, Neeti?
Well, up north in Delhi, I'm still arguing with people who say winter is going, and I'm saying, no, it's still here.
And Michael, how's it going? Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Well, generally speaking, not much is going on in Belgium. We're just usually munching chocolate and trying to form a government. So that's right. Although we have a government now, and it's mainly just arresting kids for violating COVID regulations by simply hanging out in groups of more than one, and they didn't install the curfew. So we're not Myanmar yet, but we're doing our best.
All Myanmar needs is chocolate, and then it'll be exactly the same. So let's get into the stories of the week that have grabbed our guests' attention.
Yes. Okay, let's start with Neeti. A fellow comedian went to prison for a joke in India. Mm-hmm. What happened?
So, a comedian was recently arrested at the behest of vigilantes, and they were apparently waiting for him to perform in their city so they could get at him for jokes he had performed more than a year ago. They actually bought tickets to the show knowing that he may do jokes that they may not like or that may hurt their sentiments.
I read that the comedian Manwar Faruqi, a Muslim, was arrested on charges of insulting Hindu deities.
Except in this case, he hadn't even begun the jokes and he was arrested.
How long did he go to prison for? Is he still in prison?
No, he went for a month. He was denied bail, I think 2 to 3 times till the Supreme Court stepped in and said there is no case because he never got to the jokes. And so there was absolutely...
he's arrested for a setup, not even a punchline.
Yeah, they were like, we knew he was going to do them.
So they arrested him mid-joke.
That's the worst thing you can do to a comedian.
Let me finish. No?
Exactly.
The vigilantes actually got on stage when he started and started having a debate with him. So he never even started the show, and then he convinced the guy to get off stage and let him carry on with the show. And the guy goes off and then calls the cops. We have a trend of putting a lot of people in jail lately, in prison. Mm-hmm. And I'm now beginning to think that maybe it's not anti-comedian, maybe it's just pro-housing. Because that's certainly one way to put a roof over people's heads, right? But I have to tell you this, with so much going on in the country, there are people who are writing to me on social media and saying, how come you're not commenting on anything? Are you scared? Yes.
Right.
Well, you already have a house, I guess. So,
dude, I'm telling you, when we started out, you guys you know this, right? When we started out doing comedy, I think the biggest concern used to be to use the shortest possible sentence to get to a punchline. Now I'm stressed out that my punchline might lead to a sentence.
Right.
But can you imagine the pecking order in the prison? Like, you're a new inmate and people are like, what are you in for? Murder. What are you in for? Embezzlement. What are you in for? Never mind, I'm not telling you. Yeah. The thing is, I've been thinking about this. It's really, really bad he got arrested, but he also got really, really famous.
Right.
Exactly.
So somewhere I'm weighing the pros and cons, thinking, like a couple of months of prison versus like a lifetime of fame.
The most comedian response is that slight undertow of jealousy of like, but,
Definitely.
how long do I have to be in jail to get a
That
million
level of
subscribers
fame.
to my YouTube?
He has a dedicated article in the Time magazine to him.
The only sad part is because you're going to be the second comedian, so there's a possibility you will not get any press, and that would be really sad, you know?
What's the impact been on the comedy community? Are people more careful? Has it had a chilling effect on speech?
I've taken New Year resolutions to avoid things that are bad for me, so I'm trying to quit sugar, and I'm definitely trying to quit offering my opinion.
Belgium is not very fond of an unlikely American visitor, the raccoon. I totally get it. They have tiny human hands, which freaks me out. They try to go undercover with their Zorro mask, but like, you're not fooling anybody. You're always by the garbage. Tell us, Michael, how did the raccoons get to Belgium? Is it because Biden stopped building the wall?
I would love him to send over that wall to us because we need it to keep out those American raccoons right now. You know, because our country is being invaded by foreign robbers and it has to stop. The first American raccoons have been spotted in Flanders last week, and many of them invaded with US military personnel. They brought them over as pets when they stayed in Germany and in bases in Europe. So these are militarized raccoons. They are a great threat. And they come from the U.S. They're pouring in over our borders.
Wow.
And the U.S. is not sending us their best, you know. They're robbers. They bring in drugs. They bring in crime. They're rapists. Some, I assume, could be nice animals, you know. I don't know. And I know we need to build a wall.
Yes.
Or a chicken coop. Anyway, so I went to say to the American president, Mr. Biden, tear down that wall and ship it to Belgium. We'll pay for it ourselves.
But maybe he did
Mexico.
it on purpose. He's like, stop the wall. I want Mexicans and Muslims back in the country, and I want to make sure raccoons get out of here. So maybe it was part of the plan.
That would be the end of Western civilization, I think.
So what animals do you have in Belgium if you didn't have raccoons? Like, what's on the street?
Labradors.
Labradors, right.
Mainly, of course. No, and nothing. Some rats, perhaps, some mice, but that's about it.
Neeti, what do you think about raccoons? Do you find them cute?
Are they?
You guys have
they
them?
made it to India?
I'm actually finding it hysterical that the whole country is freaking out about one raccoon. I mean, I'm from India, and just a walk to the grocery store would be like a walk in the safari for you guys. And of course, they're invading your country. I mean, come on. I think they're the mascots for American soldiers, right? No wonder they're still in a country where they're not wanted.
Ooh, nice one. Yeah, they built a little prison here with little orange overalls. It's really weird. I don't know what they're doing out there, but
they're bringing democracy, you guys. All right.
All right.
Just give them some more time.
Yeah, thanks. That's what we need in Belgium. Another government. We got like 5 or 6 already, and a king. No, sure. Bring in a raccoon government. That's all we need. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
You know what that means?
It's time for our game segment. Winner takes nothing.
Nothing but the pride that comes from doing your best. We don't have prizes.
Unless someone wants to sponsor this segment.
I take an event planning company. We're coming up on a second round of pandemic birthdays, anniversaries. I am out of ideas. I can't ask a friend to send another video message for a birthday.
Right.
That would end the friendship right there and then.
You're right. But hold on. Once again, I'm hearing from our producers, we are not allowed to solicit sponsors.
Well, in that case, let us reiterate our thanks once again to the only sponsors we need, the UK taxpayers.
Neeti, Michael, are you game?
Yes, let's do this.
Bring it on.
So game number 1, complete the headline.
In this game, you have to guess the missing word in a recent headline covered up by our puppy, Esther Honey's bark.
Here goes the headline. The first headline. China bans from broadcasting.
Dogs. Right?
Great answer.
Exactly.
Neeti, what do you think? China bans from broadcasting.
Independent thought.
Both terrific answers, but the correct answer is BBC World News.
No!
Yeah, China has banned BBC World News from broadcasting in the country. They obviously didn't get the memo that Comedians versus the News was renewed for a second season.
Or did they?
China? China, I'm assuming you're listening. Come back.
The next headline is 3 Cubans survive for 33 days on an uninhabited island.
I stick with dogs.
Is there something making you think of dogs? Is it us barking into the microphone?
It could be. I have a thing with dogs. Labradors then. I would go for surviving on Labradors because if there's anything you want to be stuck with on a lonely island, it's a lab, right?
Okay, so it's not eating the Labradors.
It's just
to be clear.
I never implied that. That was your sick mind. I never said anything about.
Okay.
Just
How
happiness.
dare you, Iman?
I know.
Yes.
I know.
How dare you?
Obviously, they survived on something else, but the answer is the companionship of a Labrador.
The dog. I mean, I don't know why my mind went there. I'm an awful person. And Neeti, what was your guess?
Cohibas?
Cohibas. Cigars and dogs.
Okay, I feel like, what else do you need to survive for?
Seriously.
But a dog and a cigar. Okay, all solid guesses, you guys. Good try. But the answer was, weird that this is on an island, but coconuts.
That's so
unexpected.
Obvious. It also depends on the island, of course. I mean, if it was a Nantucket island, it would be a different story.
You know what? Good point, Michael. It just said uninhabited island. I don't know that they could have gotten stranded on Greenland, but they might. You're right. They could be anywhere in the world. It's true.
Exactly. Could have survived on whale, which would have taken a long time to run out of, finally.
They would have had a whale of a time.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry. It'll only get downhill from here. I'm sorry.
Okay, Neeti's pulled into the lead.
Oh, you open up a door, Neeti. This is going awry. This is not going in a good direction.
Nigel Winterbottom here for, do I have to say it? Comedians versus the news. We now turn to this week's headlines delivered by two women who speak entirely too much. Grab a cup of tea, it helps. Here are this week's headlines.
Thanks, Nigel.
I feel like this Nigel guy is not a fan.
Wow.
Okay. In Myanmar, the military junta that seized power 2 weeks ago told journalists on Monday not to refer to what they did as a coup. I guess coup isn't politically correct because it is literally politically incorrect to depose an elected leader. Tell me, General, should we call it a conscious uncoupling from democracy? We were on a break from democratic transfers of power, Rachel. Sorry to report, but democracy went out for milk and is never coming back, kids.
Guinea declared it is dealing with an Ebola epidemic. When asked for comment, COVID called Ebola a has-been who is irrelevant and should go back to the year 2016.
Wow. Well, I think it's fair to say nothing is as toxic as spreading that kind of negative energy. Storms and record-breaking freezing temperatures have hit large parts of the United States that didn't vote for President Biden, just as the Jews directed. Seriously, though, we don't control the weather. If we did, we wouldn't have to switch tables every time my Aunt Sheila feels a slight draft.
U.S. President Joe Biden called up the World Health Organization to let them know the United States wants to rejoin, reversing former President Donald Trump's withdrawal from the body last year. They replied, "New phone, who dis?"
That one's for Neeti.
We want to hear from you, our listeners, our fans, even our family. My own brother listened for the first time ever last week because Patton Oswalt was on. And when I asked him if he'll listen to future episodes, he said, "Is Patton Oswalt going to be on again?"
I mean, my sister hasn't listened to a single episode. Her excuse is that she's never listened to any podcast, so why start now? Let us know if your family is supportive or more like ours, or send us a joke. We will read it on the show if it's not too dirty. Get in touch via social media using the hashtag Comedians versus the News. That's Comedians vs the News, or tweet us at BBC World Service.
And look at that. We've already heard from some of our listeners.
At Iman's brother tweeted, "I love your podcast. Proud of you, sis and sis-in-law."
Wow. He created a Twitter handle just for me and is so complimentary. There's no way I'm related to this person.
That's not a real handle. We got a comment in Spanish. From an Antonio Badia fan. Iman, you've been learning Spanish. Want to read it?
Sí, Jessica. Muchas gracias. At Hada Moreno tuitillo. Maravilloso Antonio Badia. Otro gran paisano sobresaliendo a nivel internacional.
Oh, Eman, great job. The translation is at Hannah Moreno tweeted, marvelous job, Antonio Badia, another great countryman finding success at the international level. Congratulations, BBC World Service. She added Comedians versus News at Imanifique, at Jess Salomon, at Patton for a great program. China, I know you're listening.
And look at this. We have a reply from our very own at Jess_Salomon.
Fue un placer. That's right. I'll tweet you back in Spanish.
From New York City, this is the podcast that takes the headlines to the most anticipated, underground, super secret, too cool for school, but please stay in school, event of the year and serves up it actually lived up to the hype takes you've heard all week. I'm Eman El-Husseini.
And I'm Jess Salomon, and you're listening to Comedians versus the News from the BBC World Service. Facebook has created a permanent judicial body called the Oversight Board. You could call it a Facebook Supreme Court. It has the ultimate authority to determine how hot a person is on a scale of 1 to 10.
Ah, the origin of Facebook. Ranking your classmates.
A love-scorned nerd man. A story that never goes anywhere good.
So what does the Facebook Supreme Court really do?
It has the power to reverse decisions made by Facebook around what stays up, what gets taken down, and why, like its upcoming decision on whether or not to overturn Donald Trump's ban after the violent riot on the U.S. Capitol.
But how can we be sure the board isn't just Mark Zuckerberg hiding under various cat filters? I'm not Mark Zuckerberg. Meow.
Very good question, Eman. It's supposed to be independent, but then so are the fact checkers. That was one of the questions put to him by Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
So you would say that white supremacist-tied publications meet a rigorous standard for fact-checking?
Congresswoman, I would say that we're not the one assessing that standard. The International Fact-Checking Network is the one who is setting that standard.
The only way to test whether this oversight board is truly independent and not, in fact, Zuckerberg in a variety of wigs is, Your Honor, to put Facebook on trial.
Did you just call me Your Honor?
Yes, you can be the judge.
This is unprecedented in our relationship.
Already doing great, Eman.
Okay. Then please rise in the matter of Facebook versus all that is good, decent, and sane. What say you, Mr. Zuckerberg?
You can't handle the truth.
The defense has entered a plea of, you can't handle the truth. And now, the prosecution.
Your Honor, the prosecution is asking the board to put Facebook in Facebook jail. It must be suspended for violating community, nay, humanity standards. The prosecution will be entering into evidence the following exhibits. Exhibit A, countless hours of lives lost to scrolling. Exhibit B, the psychological toll of reconnecting with people from high school. Exhibit C, the way we have to put links in the comments if we want anyone to see our post. It's humiliating, Your Honor. Exhibit D, the countless aunts and uncles who went from sharing unflattering family photos to memes of Hillary Clinton with Stalin's mustache as evidence that she is a communist. Hillary Clinton. Exhibit E, the blind eye Facebook turns to extremism. We will be entering the eye. Exhibit F, Facebook's promotion and prioritizing of incendiary content because it is financially beneficial will be entering the algorithm. And Exhibit G, the poke.
Order in the court. We'll be taking a short recess while I review the evidence. Court is dismissed. And we're back in the matter of all that is good, decent, and sane versus Facebook. The Oversight Board rules in favor of Mark Zuckerberg. After careful consideration, we believe you can't handle the truth.
I knew it! You've been Mark Zuckerberg this whole time!
Meow?
Neeti, Michael, what issue would you bring to Facebook Supreme Court? Also, are you still on Facebook?
Yes, still. I'm because I'm getting old, so because only old people are on Facebook, apparently.
Listen, we're on Facebook. I should have
only
prefaced this by
fairly
saying
young.
no judgment.
Old, so
Many old. That's what youngsters keep telling me. What? Okay, boomer, you're still on Facebook. What? Facibuki in Italian.
But then we join TikTok, and they're like, "What are you doing here?" So
yeah, exactly.
you can't win with
Go
the
away.
kids. Is there anything you guys in particular would take to Facebook Supreme Court if you could?
They ask you what's on your mind. They should at least act like they care.
yeah.
I know that there's also a lot of people that have left WhatsApp on account of Facebook buying it.
I just only my partner has WhatsApp, and she filters it for me. It's just, okay, this happened in the family. Thank you, darling, and that's it. Then I go
Wow,
on and
that's
lead
true
my
love.
life. It is
That is
actually,
true love.
yeah, or
That is true love. I mean, it's
or
also,
oppression. Also,
Yeah, I
Or
was
yeah,
gonna
controlled
say,
information.
Ooh, yeah, I didn't
She
think of
sounds
that.
like China. I don't know.
Actually, I never thought of it like that. I always thought she was doing me a favor, but
Yeah.
you're right. It is controlled
I just
information.
love that
What?
Michael's like just sitting there happy, thinking about Labradors and chocolate,
Yeah.
and his girlfriends
Comedians
quietly
versus the
selecting the
news.
information.
So it's exactly that. Comedians versus the news, where the comedians get to know the news.
I just woke up, actually. You are right. She is controlling me. I thought she was doing me a favor.
Michael, I hear the Belgian government is taking decisive action on an issue of grave national
Finally.
importance. Haircuts.
Mm-hmm.
Have
Yeah.
you gotten a haircut? How long have the salons been closed?
It's
Are
been
people going underground for haircuts? Tell us everything.
It's been a horrifying 4 months. I repeat, 4 months. That's 4 times 1 month of closed hairdressers. And finally, Belgian hairdressers are opening again. They opened the day before Valentine's Day. So those women with the longest nails got their first haircuts, basically because there's a waiting list right now. But they opened by government decision, by priority. Before health clubs, before sporting centers, restaurants, bars, the Belgian Prime Minister said, we need urgently to open up hairdressers because, quote, some people were afraid to leave the house because of bad hairdos. Which, wasn't that the whole point of the whole COVID thing?
One quick question. What do long nails have to do with hair?
Because baby, that's not professional. Because I'm like forgetting that we're on.
Yes, baby, please tell me.
Eman, Michael is suggesting that women with long nails, it's like a cat fight.
All right.
And they'll
Okay.
scratch each other out of the way. And I'm going to suggest that this is the most politically incorrect thing Michael has said on this podcast.
Is it really? Long nails? Wow. You mean...
No, that women fight each other.
You weren't there, man. You weren't there when the hairdressers opened in Belgium after 4 months. You don't get to say what happened and didn't happen. I saw scenes from there that were like people wounded in battle with fabulous hair, but still scratches all over their face. It was horrible.
What's been going on with India and haircuts during this pandemic, Neeti?
Well, I did give myself a haircut myself.
You did this yourself.
No, not this. This is the repaired version.
That was the thing in Belgium, actually. People with short haircuts, they looked really suspicious, you know. Everybody who was groomed, people were betraying other people who went to the hairdressers during the lockdown. There were police razzias, I'm not making this up, and crime stories in the newspaper with headlines like, 3 people were caught red-handed while getting a haircut in Brussels yesterday. That's
The
a new level of
scandal
crime
in Belgium.
Yeah,
I
and
love that.
politicians also.
And 4 months really doesn't seem that long. Like, how often do people cut their hair in Belgium?
This is coming from a person with curls, like myself. For
I
us,
do
4
every
months
3
isn't long.
months.
Ask
Right,
Neeti, ask
exactly.
anyone with straight hair. It's horrible. And of course, you had politicians from the left and the right, and the left-wing politicians had really huge haircuts, and the right wings were going like, whatever, we're not doing this. It became a thing.
Yeah.
But actually, I think the reason why they reopened hairdressers is because politicians just missed the gossiping, you know?
Yes.
4 months.
They missed the hairdresser more than the
Exactly.
actual hairdressing.
And that is not solved now because it's really difficult to gossip at the hairdressers when you have to shout through your face mask and protective gear because they look like, like welders performing heart surgery, all packed up with masks and welding stuff. And
So in India, I'm assuming, Neeti, that the hair salons are open because it feels like there's been a turnaround with the vaccine rollout. India's producing the vaccine. It's rolling out the vaccine. People are getting vaccinated. So way to go, India. Neeti, you must be so proud.
I actually am. Do you know that we've given about 88 million vaccines in a month? And I'm not surprised because our government is very good at poking people. But the fun fact is, when the vaccine came in, actually there was some doubts. So some of them were like, where's the efficacy data? How can you use untested product? And I'm like, really? We're India. We're the land of arranged marriages. We're used to using untested products. It's only after marriages that we tell the mother-in-law, hey, your product isn't working, babe. He's failing his phase 3 trials and he's giving me horrible side effects like headache, nausea, and permanent loss of sexual appetite.
I want to return him. How are they rolling it out? Are you kind of like at the end of the line? Is it
That's
by age?
exactly it, So it started out with the health workers. It started out with the frontline workers. The cops got it. Now the elderly have started getting it. Then come the 50 plus. Then will come so being a fit Indian female, I'm somewhere billionth in the queue. And
Literally.
if you're going to stand, socially distanced, that would be about 200 million kilometer line. So you'll probably see me standing at Trafalgar Square patiently waiting for my turn.
Wait, Trafalgar Square in London? Yeah, that's how many kilometers away. Michael,
what about Belgium?
I don't know. I'm jealous of Neeti because it's going really slow here. We vaccinated some health workers. Obviously, that's been done, but the rest is just gonna take ages. And I've seen some raccoons getting vaccinated before us, so with fabulous hair, by the way. So something's going on there, man, and I don't like it.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, no, but it's going really slow. So we're still locking down everything. Actually, we had a week of snow last week, so Belgium went crazy, and mayors were worried that hundreds of people may come to the ice for ice skating. So it was a big thing. You couldn't come to the ice, as opposed to hundreds of people gathering at IKEA, which was fine. But you couldn't go ice skating. It's still dangerous here. So we'll be in this for at least until September, probably.
From New York City, this is the show that takes the headlines and bakes them into a slice of pizza while a rat runs by. I'm El-Husseini.
And I'm Jess Salomon. You're listening to Comedians versus the News from the BBC World Service. And now it's time for the segment where we give back. Ask CVTN, a safe space for world leaders seeking confidential, no-nonsense advice.
We're gay, but we give it to them straight.
Dear CVTN, I'm not an elected world leader, but I am extremely rich, which is more important. Since rehabbing my image from ruthless antitrust tech oligarch to philanthropist, I have been solving the world's problems with my wife through our tax haven, foundation. Must be a bug in Word. Hasn't been the same since I left. Where's the bouncing paper clip? Clippy was a good friend, my only friend. But I digress. I am now tackling climate change in a new book where I explain that we need governments to subsidize zero-emission technologies, and everyone I talk to keeps saying, But we thought you hated governments. People keep asking, why don't you pay taxes? Did you fly here in a private plane? And to be honest, it feels very unfair. CVTN, what advice do you have for someone like me who feels underappreciated and misunderstood? Also, how do I get Greta Thunberg to call me back? Signed, good, billionaire.
Well. Bill Gates wants advice for free?
Eman, this is anonymous.
I'm sending an invoice.
Okay, fair, but do you have any advice?
I do. If you don't like it at the top, there's a simple solution.
Okay, tough love. So I think what Eman is trying to say is that perhaps it's not you who is misunderstood so much as it is you who is misunderstanding everyone else. And that's normal because you don't live in the same world as most people. Where you live, there are very few rules and consequences. And that is highly annoying. So even if you have a good idea, people are mostly just thinking about that. Good billionaire, our advice to you is come back down to earth and then let's save it. Neeti, Michael, do you have any advice for this guy?
I have inspirational advice, or at least inspirational direction, saying when God closes a door, you open a window.
We got to charge him a lot for that.
Seriously.
A lot. Michael.
Yeah, what's the good billionaire? What was his signature?
Good billionaire.
Good billionaire. He's one of the good ones, Michael.
I know. There's so many good ones. They fly their planes over the world to discuss climate change and stuff. So there's really nice. But
He's
I
one
would
of
say
those.
good billionaire. If you're down and out and in trouble, only one thing can help you, and that's either a Labrador or a raccoon with a fabulous haircut. Get one. You can buy one. Actually, get all of them. Buy all those raccoons, good billionaire, put them on one of your private jets and fly them back to the USA because we don't want them here.
You guys, honestly, thank you for doing the show. Please tell our listeners where they could find you.
Oh, okay. You can find me on Twitter at Neeti Palta. You can find me on Instagram, surprisingly still at Neeti Palta. And you can find me on Facebook, Neeti Palta, yet again. I'm very predictable that way.
Very consistent.
I'm similarly predictable. I'm on Facebook, Michael Van Peel. That's Michael Minibus Fruitskin in your silly language, but it makes sense in ours. Michael Van Peel on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. In Dutch, if you like Dutch, preferably.
You've been listening to Comedians versus the News from the BBC World Service.
Presented by me, Jess Salomon.
And me, Eman El-Husseini. The show was written by us with additional material from George Siveris. The producer is Mugabe Turia.
The show is recorded in New York by Damon Whittemore and in London by Bob Nettles. The production team are Olivia Skinner, Jackie Nichols, and Nancy Benny with digital support from Will Swigart. The BBC World Service podcast team are John Manel and Al Riddell. The series editor is Rebecca Stratford, and the commissioning editor for the BBC World Service is Simon Pitts. Rate, review, subscribe.
Tell your amigos.
Tell the mundo. Until next week.
Adios.